Good morning, pro traders, and welcome to our Monday morning market review on this beautiful morning. Although it's winter down here in the Southern Cape, we've been having actually unseasonably beautiful weather. Been enjoying nice warm walks on the beach and other things like that, which I hope you found a way to get out and about, because certainly when it comes to our core strategies, the markets have been really dead again last week. And we did discuss this a week ago. In fact, we've been discussing it now for 2 weeks. And yeah, I hope that you've been able to resist the temptation to look for things that aren't there. So this is definitely one of those times where patience and discipline is called for, where the ability to do nothing actually pays dividends. It may not seem like it if you clearly, by not taking trades, you're not making money, but you're also not losing money. So a very important part of being successful as a trader is to make sure that what money you've made, you get to keep. And this has definitely been one of those times where knowing how to sit in your hands and do nothing pays real dividends. Okay, so that means as well that our call today is probably going to be a little bit shorter than it has been in the past, thanks to the sort of lack of action. But there has been a bit of, certainly late in the week, last week, some of those support and resistance levels that we were talking about a week ago were in fact tested. We've had, I think, one or two breakouts as well, but not on my favorite pairs like the Euro Swiss, which we'll have a look at. So we'll run through the pairs in a minute. But also just wanted to point out that, I mean, certainly a lot of you folks have been asking about the overlay strategy because you want to do something. So towards the end of today's call, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I'm going to start introducing you guys to the overlay and a little bit of more exciting news as well that Kareem's been talking about in the group. We will be chatting about at the end of today's call. So make sure you hang on for that. And as always, if you've got any questions, pop them into the chat box. And if you're watching this as a recording, please use the comments below. All right, so starting as always with the Euro USD, as you can see, we are still inside our HTC channel. As we mentioned last week, we did get a breakout of the LPO on this, but it pulled straight back inside of that channel. So if you're being as cautious as I certainly recommend you to be when it comes to trading the funded account, you don't have an outside C close here, so you wouldn't really have been looking to do anything. There was a valid overlay, as I'll be talking about a bit later. But yeah, at the moment, we're still very much inside of our HTC channel and not particularly interested in trading anything here outside of that nice winner that we got in an overlay, which went straight to take profit. But apart from that, yeah, nothing really to look at. On the weekly time frame, of course, it's still pretty much just doing its thing. We had that long bullish move that we were able to trade on the daily time frame, but really at the moment, it's nothing really useful for us to look at here at all. All right, so I must say though, before I carry on, you'll notice on some of the instruments I'm showing a sort of a ghost channel boundary for the upcoming channel boundary. Of course, we're not there yet, but this will be the channel boundary for the HTC channel. So the fact that we are sitting at that level at the moment, well, certainly on Friday, we came down and tested the support level, is definitely of interest to me for the rest of the week. So let's just keep an eye on that. That doesn't mean that we can trade it right now, but this is something that is worth keeping an eye on. Oh, and by the way, I must say as well, you guys do know, I'm sure, that we've got the Fed announcement coming out later this week. So we may well have the markets holding their breath a little bit in anticipation of that. I'm not second guessing it, and I'm not saying that that will happen. But do bear in mind that that is quite a significant piece of news coming out later in the week. And very often the market tends to hold back in anticipation of those. All right, so obviously things might well be moving along here today on the cable, on the daily time frame. We did have an overlay on this as well, which got stopped out. So the one on the euro worked nicely. This one didn't. It didn't work out. But looking overall again here on our HTC channel, very much inside the boundary. although we've got this interim support level, and I could actually draw another one of our little ghost boundaries here for the HDC channel. It is still bouncing along very firmly on the support level at the moment. So nothing really for us to look at there. And again, here on weekly, we've moved away from that resistance level. So very much in a very bland phase 2 here. So we did have a phase 1 wave before, but remember we're inside of that channel. So there's nothing really for us to do there. All right, so dollar yen still also very boring, nothing to look at all. So another one, in fact, an overlay that didn't work out last week. So this very choppy market behavior, there's clear indecision. No one really has any direction at the moment. So even if you're trading an overlay as a ranging strategy, then quite a few of those trades didn't work out last week. If you were trading the overlay purely as an end of trend strategy, it was fine, but certainly not if you're trading it as a ranging strategy. That's the issue I find with a lot of these reversion to the mean type strategies, is that they trade in the noisiest type of markets, which I don't particularly like doing myself, but in any case. Right, so dollar Swiss here, we're looking at weekly first. We did have that high isolated, as we discussed a week ago. Sorry, this is not the one we discussed a week ago. Last week, isolated that high. And that's interesting, certainly. But remember, on this time frame, we're still very much inside of our HDC channel. But that may well be interesting if we are looking for a potential breakout in a bearish direction here. We haven't had that. We discussed this last week as well. We are potentially looking for a bearish breakout. We did have a retest of the support level. On signs of a failure of that retest, we had a nice winning overlay here, though. So definitely not anything to look at the moment, but let's wait and see. It's certainly the bears are certainly holding their own at the moment, and the best I can say here is that if there are any bulls in the market, they're fast asleep. Right, so on USD CAD, on the other hand, on Friday, we did have a bullish breakout of our 4-wave 13 candle channel, so our HDC channel. And also, if you're trading this on an LPO, I think maybe that as well, but certainly the HDC channel had a bullish breakout. We also had an overlay on this, which did hit take profit on Friday, but that followed a loser. So we had one loser and one winner. But the winner being bigger than the loser, we're happy with that. But we do have a breakout here now. So that is certainly something that we need to keep an eye on. If you're trading the lower time frame strategies, then like the H4 impulse, that would be valid as long as you're not interested in outside C closes and so on. If you are, as I recommend, those of you who are trading your funded accounts should be waiting for an outside C close, then you do need to wait for a phase 2 or a retracement wave here with an outside C close on the channel. And that's still some time to go. We don't have that yet. But at least we've got some action here on dollar CAD at the moment. But you still have to wait. Right, on the Aussie, not sure why I didn't update this on the weekend, because we do have a bearish engulfing. Maybe it's because I don't really care. It's still very much inside of the channel here. We do have a bearish engulfing here, so we could update this analysis a little bit, but it won't change the fact that we're deep inside of a long-term channel. We've had a false breakout in a bullish direction, a false breakout in a bearish direction, but overall, it's just bouncing around the 55 EMA. It's not really interested at the moment in going anywhere. So I can ignore that one pretty much completely. On the Kiwi, similar picture. This is obviously weekly first, but again, here on daily, we've seen a bit more of a test of our support levels. When it comes to the 4-wave channel, we did actually have an outside close. So we technically got a breakout here again, but we don't have an outside C close. So if you're trading the more aggressive approach, where you've got fewer filters, then keep an eye on that. But remember that if your entry level on the lower time frame, and of course I'll be talking H4 impulse here, needs to be outside of that channel as well. You can't start looking to take trades if you're above that support level or back inside of the channel. So another example of wait and see. Right, moving on to our yen crosses. So, obviously this is the yen weakness, as we know, has been our friend for quite some time, but that came to an end. And certainly here you can see on the daily time frame, we had a definite breakdown in sequentiality of cyclicity. We have had it before with a resumption, but it's definitely all over for the moment. So much so, in fact, that we on Friday had a bearish impulse wave, something that we haven't had for a long time on this currency pair. So that, in fact, is also a breakout of the LPO, as you can see on Friday. We did get that. Yeah, that's quite an interesting one. We are also in a bearish overlay on this. But if you, again, looking to trade this with the lower time frame strategies, you still don't have an outside C close. So if that's one of your requirements, then you need to wait for this, if it does transpire into bearish cyclicity, for it to show that it is strong. You can't trade anything other than a strong trend on the selection time frame. If you want to be that selective, which is something I do recommend. Right, on GBP yen, daily time frame, really very little to talk about here. You can see even Friday, we didn't have that action that we've seen on many of the other pairs. So today looks like it might be moving lower, but once again, very deep inside of our HDC channel. And if you're using an LPO, then even that, it's still quite far away from both the support and resistance levels here on the daily time frame. So that really is nothing for us to trade. We did have an overlay on this, which gave us a small winner, but otherwise it's really boring. Here we go, Swiss yen. So here, this is weekly time frame. One of the pairs that is showing more potential in terms of a resumption. We did have a bullish engulfing candle here on the weekly time frame. So interesting, given the fact that we are very much still in a technical trend here on Swiss yen on the weekly time frame. So dropping down to the lower time frame, you can see that this trader went long last week with the final selection criteria being met on the execution time frame with that bullish impulse candle. Is languishing at the moment, often does, as you know. It's really a matter of wait and see and just trailing the stop and following our rules. So yeah, at the moment, we haven't seen any breakout in the bullish direction here. It could have done that last week. It didn't. So if this trade does work out, it will mean that we will have a bullish breakout. Otherwise, as I say, we just the trader will just be trailing their stop using the 2 5-step rule on this, and let's see what happens. It is one of the more interesting instruments, though, that we're looking at, but certainly we can't trade this on the lower time frame strategies. So, in fact, I'd say one thing I can say as a sort of a blanket approach for if you're trading H4 impulse and you're looking for the outside C close, there's actually nothing for you to trade at the moment. Right, so CAD yen also similar in a way to the GBP yen. This gentle bearish movement, we did have a decent winner on an overlay, but nothing else to speak of deep inside of any kind of channel that you would want to mention here on this time frame. But remember that here on the weekly time frame, we are still technically in a trend, albeit in a retracement wave of that trend. So one of the mistakes I've seen people make is trying to anticipate the end of a retracement wave. If you're trading the hybrid type strategies, then you will be looking for evidence of that on the lower time frame. But there's absolutely nothing to tell us that this bearish cyclicity, which is the retracement wave on the weekly time frame, has come to an end or is about to come to an end. None at all. So definitely something to watch. Keep an eye on. If we do see a breakdown of bearish cyclicity on this and a resumption, or at least a potential start of a bullish trend on this time frame, it will also mean that the phase 2 on the weekly time frame is over and we can start looking to trade that. All right. Aussie yen, well, again, with the Aussie and Kiwi, pretty dead. Another bearish engulfing, just as we saw on the Aussie USD. So I could update this analysis a little bit as well, but I really don't care because it's not going to change the fundamentals. It's very much sideways, this market. So not interested in that at all. A little bit more bearish intent on the Kiwi, as you can see here. Inside of the channel, be it the LPO or your HDC, yes, that is true. So we don't have a WM pattern, nothing. So it is showing a bit more bearish intent, but we're still further away from the support level here than even we are on the Kiwi USD. So another one where let's wait and see. We may well have something coming out of these pairs that are showing some sort of intent at the moment, but until they break through these significant levels of support and resistance, we just need to watch and wait. Right, so moving on to the Euro crosses, Euro GBP, very flat here on the daily time frame. Our channel boundaries being very much respected there, so not interested in that at all. Euro Swiss, on the other hand, okay, this is weekly, of course, where you can see that we had quite a strong bearish impulse candle and impulse wave last week, albeit inside of the channel. But if you're looking at this on the daily time frame, then we did have a breakout. You guys know my opinion of Euro Swiss, my least favorite currency pair. But of all of the instruments that we've got at the moment, this one has shown the most directional bias, and we did have a breakout last week, Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yep. So putting back today, but there were two H4 impulse trades. The first one got stopped out for I think about 2/3 of initial risk. The second one now should be trailed to close to break even. So it's coming straight back again this morning, as you can see. So may well also stop this one out, which kind of proves my point about the Euro Swiss. But nevertheless, that was an H4 impulse that was valid. So let's wait and see. I'm not second guessing the market. It is Monday morning after all, which can the moves on a Monday morning can peter out very suddenly, as you know, I'm sure. All right, so that's Euro Swiss. There's nothing prettier than that, actually, at the moment. Euro CAD, flat as a pancake, not interested at all. We did have a bearish hybrid, I think we discussed last week, that actually did get stopped out as well for, I think, about 0.38 a risk unit. If you're risking 1%, that would mean 0.38%. So that didn't work out either, because it really is just going sideways. So that's how we cut our losers. We're not interested in hanging on and hoping for something to happen when clearly the market's just going sideways. So moving on to Euro Aussie, very significant reversal here. We are still inside of the channel. There is actually an overlay running on this. Need to just trail the stop on it. So I'll tell you about overlays a little bit later. But in any case, that is the only thing we've got going here, is a counter trend overlay or end of trend overlay. But you can see the channel is still pretty wide on this, so nothing doing really. We're still sitting inside of any channel that you care to name, and we don't have any outside C closes or anything else like that either. Euro Kiwi, just looking here on weekly, you can see it's flat, and on the daily flat, we had a small loser on an overlay here, but apart from that, really, this is not of interest to us at all. Again, I can update some of this analysis a little bit, but not really interested in these pairs anyway. GBP Swiss, we did see on the daily time frame a bearish breakout last week Wednesday, but it came straight back inside of the channel. And yeah, so we can't possibly have an outside C close for the channel. You might get away with possibly, just have to check this close here, an outside C close on an M pattern, but I honestly wouldn't be looking to trade any of these at all. That's really reaching, and those are the kind of trades that end up just losing you money. GBP CAD been flat for a long time, so really nothing to bother with, just completely choppy. Even our overlays didn't work out on this pair. It's respecting this resistance. And of course, if I were to draw in a little ghost channel, the bottom of the channel is probably be more realistic to tighten this up a little bit. And certainly if I was to update my analysis on this, I'd probably, yeah, definitely. In fact, we'd get the bottom of our 4-wave channel looking like that. So very tight range, not worth us bothering with at all. It is pushing up against the resistance level. Let's wait and see. But at the moment, nothing doing. GBP Aussie, just looking here on weekly first, and the reason for that is because once we had this high isolated on Friday, or the end of last week's candle and ringed, it meant that we were able to move our 4-wave channel boundary to this point, which means that we do in fact have an outside C close here at the moment, but we are still in the phase 2. So we need to wait. If you're trading daily impulse, you need to wait for, we need to have reason to believe that this bearish retracement wave is over. It's either going to respect this level as support or it's not. And we have no reason at the moment yet to say that it is going to support it. It's quite a nice, if I just go back to that quickly, it's quite a nice bullish low test or hammer. That's in terms of the way the week finished off last week. So that's on the daily time frame. If you look at this, a lot of people may say, well, they want to go long with that impulse candle on the daily. Well, if you are saying that you are now into a phase 1 wave, or have reason to believe that you're in a phase 1 wave on the weekly time frame, yes, but do you? That is the question. And at the moment, the answer to that, I would say, is no. It's looking potentially promising, although this morning is not really looking great. But as I say, Monday mornings don't really mean anything. But this is definitely one of the more interesting ones. As Muna says, certainly from a hybrid point of view, we would potentially be looking to go long on this very soon. But we did have that. It's a bullish impulse wave last week Friday's close. So that means that we do have a bullish impulse wave on this. And yes, certainly from a hybrid point of view, you're right, Muna. But that's a topic that we will be discussing in more detail early next month, as I will be telling you about in a minute. All right, so that's GBP Oz. Moving on to the last of our pound crosses. Just if we look at weekly first, you'll see that last week tested this resistance level quite significantly, but still closed inside. So that resistance level on the weekly time frame is still very much intact. We did have an outside close on Friday's, well, that Friday close, but you can see that it's pushing up against this more significant resistance level, but it did break out of both our 3 and 4 wave channels. So we do have a bullish breakout here, but you can see that the market's opened after the weekend back inside of the channel, which really doesn't help us at all. So if you were looking to trade H4 impulse on this, it's not going to help. And we certainly don't have an outside C close at the moment. So it's a very marginal breakout, and which is pretty much the best we've seen across most of these pairs in the last few weeks. Similarly, CAD Swiss here on daily, you can see that we've had these marginal outside closes. So there's no outside C close here, but we did have a breakout. So let's see what happens today. We are pushing back up against this, what was support, now resistance. A couple of times last week, as you can see, where it closed marginally outside, it continued to do that, even though it was testing that resistance level. Let's see what happens here. But yeah, I mean, again, if you are requiring an outside C close, you don't have it. If you don't require that, then potentially, as long as you get your entry below the support level, you may well be looking for a bearish impulse candle on the H4 time frame to short this. That's probably one of the closest we've got to that. All right, so you can see the Swiss franc is involved in quite a few of these. All right, so Aussie Swiss bouncing along on the support level still. We spoke about it last week. Nothing doing at all. We had a nice full winner on an overlay here on that hit take profits on Thursday and then went straight back down again. So at the end of the day, it didn't look that great, but it was actually a winning trade on an overlay. So, but apart from that, you can see it's just moseying on sideways. And if you just drop down one further time frame, it really is a mess. So there was that overlay, bang, hit take profit, and came all the way back down. Sorry, hit take profit, I think there. Right. So Aussie CAD, that's weekly. Reason I'm looking at this first, of course, is because although we are in a phase 2 retracement here, it is still definitely a trend. So we are in a bearish trend and a phase 2 of that trend. So if you were if you are looking to trade the daily impulse, you do need to wait until you have reason to believe that this phase 2 is over. If you're trading a hybrid, you'd be looking for that evidence here on the daily time frame, and at the moment there is nothing. It really is time to wait and see. Another winning overlay last week on this one. A couple of these pairs really made up for the losses on the majors and the minors. But yeah, I mean, certainly